As Above, So Below is about an archaeologist named Scarlett Marlowe who's in search of a lost relic, and her father had searched for this relic his whole life and had been unsuccessful, but he was one of the world's preeminent alchemists, and she has followed in his footsteps in a mission to prove that he wasn't crazy and that what he was looking for just might exist. So it's got a very mystical element to it, but it also has some real basis in history and in fact/mythology, and so it's really a nice jumping off point to go into a more supernatural space. So she and 2 Americans and 3 French cataphiles go in search of this lost relic under the streets of Paris, and they end up crossing a threshold into something that doesn't make sense and something that is kind of beyond this world, and their personal demons start to manifest themselves and haunt them individually as they go deeper and deeper into the space. Our hope is that the movie introduces a lot of Americans to the catacombs. I mean, the French really obviously know about the catacombs, and most, Parisians have spent time in the catacombs, and at some point during their teenage years have gone to a party or gone to some event in the catacombs. It's a very common thing for French. It is interesting to me how many Americans don't know what the catacombs are, and we don't have anything like that here. I mean, this is something that dates back to the 14th century. They're originally quarries. Most of the big major landmarks in Paris were built from limestone taken from these quarries. So the Arc de Triomphe and Place Vendôme, and pretty much every major landmark is built from this stone. And so it's got a lot of just history and mythology there. And then at some point in the late 1700s, the cemeteries in Paris were becoming so overcrowded that they dug up all the bodies and put them all down there. There's about 6 million corpses that they stashed down in these, what were quarries. This movie was intended to be, a bit of a personalized experience for each one of the characters in the movie, but in doing so, we'd like audience members to kind of have that personal connection to it as well. And we don't go to great lengths to explain, what each person's personal demon that they're encountering down there. We don't feel the need to explain all of the backstory on each one. Sometimes it's just one image, and from that image you can kind of extrapolate what you think it is that this person did, or what they're, what's weighing on their soul, and what it is that they've, been living with all these years. And it's kind of nice to not have to really spell it out in great detail, which, and sometimes making, studio films, you get a lot of pressure to explain every last thing to the point where no one has any questions whatsoever, and that gets a little tiring. And it was great working at Legendary, where creatively they're very open to doing things differently and to breaking some rules and not overly explaining everything and letting people draw their own conclusions from some of the images that you see down there.